Thank you for coming to Starbright Storytime. This is the overview of books for week 33. The first book this week, this was a nature week. The first book was This Tree Counts by Alison Formento, illustrated by Sarah Snow. This had bright, cheery illustrations that were really interesting the way that they were done. This is about school children going to plant trees in the schoolyard, and the teacher asked them to listen to the one solo tree that is there in the schoolyard before they plant so that they can learn more about the habitat that this tree provides. And they listened to this big old tree and learned that it is home to many different animals. And then they are excited about what they learn. This is a book that's based in science, so your children can learn something from reading this book or reading along with this book. And it talks about trees and how they process oxygen, how they grow, and what kinds of things are produced from the wood of trees. And then they plant 10 baby trees in the schoolyard. This is This Tree Counts by Alison Formento, illustrated by Sarah Snow. The next book on the list is Counting in the Garden by Kim Parker. This is a book for early readers learning to count. Illustrations are gorgeous in this book. Looks like watercolor art. Counting in the garden. The animals that we are counting are all hidden in the flowers. There are 2 turtles. So it's kind of a hide and seek book. You have to find the items that we're counting. Very simple, 1 to 10. Counting in the Garden by Kim Parker. The next book on the list is The Snail's Spell by Joanne Ryder with pictures by Lynne. This is a lovely little story. This child is in the garden with all kinds of creatures and imagining turning into thinking like a snail. And so this child sort of depicts through images and words what it might be like to be a snail moving through the garden, encountering other animals and vegetation, what it's like to be a snail, some scientific facts about snails. The illustrations are very nice as well. So, yeah, this is a great book. It's a sweet book about the garden and a snail. This is The Snail's Spell by Joanne Ryder with pictures by Lynne. Next on the list is Leaf Man by Lois Ehlert. This is another storybook with interesting illustrations. These are done by the illustrations are created by using actual leaves that were collected by the author. It's a story about an imagined figure, a leaf man, created by an accumulation of leaves. It's like looking at the clouds and seeing different shapes in the clouds. The author is looking at leaves and seeing different shapes in the leaves and tries to depict those things using the leaves together to form the illustrations. So past the chickens. The last time I saw him, he was headed east past the chickens, and she's used these leaves together to sort of depict chickens, the shapes of chickens, in the storybook using photographs of actual leaves. It's quite clever. It's the story of Leaf Man blowing away over the hillside. It's very clever. It's a sea turtle depicted with leaves. Very clever little book about leaves. Leaf Man by Lois Ehlert. The next one on the list for this week is The Secret Life of Trees. This is a book, another book based in science. This is written by Chaira, Chevallier. It's a book about trees, how they grow, the differences in bark, the differences in leaf shape, a lot of facts about trees and how they grow, the different habitats that trees can provide, the different types of seeds that they have, and how some trees change through the seasons and other trees, like pines, are green all year long. It's a good educational book about trees. This is The Secret Life of Trees by Chaira Chevallier. The next book on the list is Stretched to the Sun, From a Tiny Sprout to the Tallest Tree on Earth by Carrie A. Pearson, illustrated by Susan Swan. Now this book's illustrations are very much in alignment with the book This Tree Counts. It's like they are almost collaged. The pictures are collaged together to create the images. So you will see as we go through the book. They're very exciting. Now this is a book about one of the tallest living trees in the world, and the species of tree can last thousands of years. And the interesting thing about these tall trees, this is about coast redwoods. So where they exist, there is a whole other world high up in the canopy that is created. And through reading the book, we learn how that canopy is created with branches dropping and soil being created through decomposition of different organic materials. It's really quite fascinating and beautiful to learn about these coast redwood trees. So the video I made of reading this book was a bit animated with the extra background sound. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. And yet, hopefully it was entertaining. This is a great book, Stretched to the Sun. It's very educational. From a Tiny Sprout to the Tallest Tree on Earth by Carrie A. Pearson, illustrated by Susan Swan. And then last book for the week is Small Green Snake. This is by Libba Moore Gray with pictures by Holly Mead. This is a fun book. I love these illustrations. They're quite vibrant. About this one snake who kind of stands out from his siblings because he's a bit more adventurous. Every time this little green snake hears some interesting noise, little green snake wants to go investigate, and of course gets himself in a little bit of trouble when he explores beyond the bounds of his family home. So that's it for week 33. Small Green Snake by Libba Moore Gray with pictures by Holly Mead. There was Stretched to the Sun, From a Tiny Sprout to the Tallest Tree on Earth by Carrie A. Pearson, illustrated by Susan Swan. The Secret Life of Trees by Chaira Chevallier. Leaf Man by Lois Ehlert. The Snail's Spell by Joanne Ryder, pictures by Lynne. Counting in the Garden by Kim Parker. This Tree Counts by Alison Formento, illustrated by Sarah Snow. That's the overview of books for week 33. Thank you for coming to Starbright Storytime.